Good afternoon. Welcome to another episode of Deadline. I'm your host, Poochie Hill. I am here today with the Superintendent of Newark Public Schools, Roger Leone. How are you today, big guy?
Great, Poochie. Thank you for having me.
Well, let's get right into it. It's Black History Month. That's a good thing. The other thing I want to speak of is that as the superintendent, how did you get into becoming an educator, or should I say from a teacher to an educator? What made you get into this here? Did it start at an early age, or it came as you continued to revolve?
Yeah, I think that it was a both and situation when I was at Hawkins Street School, which is my elementary school from kindergarten to 8th grade. I had phenomenal teachers during that time period and incredible principals that eventually came to central office and led not only the work that they were doing at Hawkins, but throughout the whole entire city. Howard Caesar and Gene Fody, absolutely incredible educators. When I went to high school, I continued to meet just more of the same, whether it was the principal and the vice principal, and just incredible teachers. My high school debate coach, Brent Ferrand, who's just a legend throughout the country in high school debate. Just incredible people that were always advising me about the importance of not only being a great person, which obviously is instilled from my mom, but to really serve and to do it with great intent and impact. So I meet my my college advisor, Ms. Taylor at Rutgers, New Brunswick. And she's the one who, she and Dean Frazier were both who were saying, this is your space. Then I came back, obviously, to...
So you went to Rutgers in New Brunswick?
That's right, Cook College.
Okay. Were you out there when it was really Cook College?
Oh my goodness, it was Cook College, so it was the agricultural
and Douglas.
School. Yeah, so Douglas was next door. But absolutely incredible experience that really resulted in a unique focus about the importance that we have, especially in an urban school district like Newark, and an urban city, that we're always challenged by having the burden of proving ourselves. It's constant. And so part of the thinking is, while that may be our reality, still always coming ahead of that struggle is what's extremely exciting about it. Yeah. And so the opportunity to teach in Newark was something that I knew would go hand in hand with the purpose of...
You want to come back to Newark?
Oh, absolutely. I was doing that as soon as I was in my sophomore year in college, because I had graduated from Science High School with so many college credit courses that I was able to become a substitute teacher really early. And so that, coupled with what I was doing as a debate coach, because I was a high school debater, definitely let me know. It grounded me in that. I went back to Hawkins Street School to teach. The administration there really was a focal point about the importance of me doing teaching is extremely important. I have incredible teachers in the district. Today, a little over 3,100 teachers in Newark, and their job is absolutely incredible. So the opportunity to lead them only comes with, obviously getting a master's and additional certification.
So nurturing is just as important as the qualifications to have. It's like a nurse. It's in your soul. What I wanted to say is that, what do you see the difference in comparison of constant, continuous attentiveness to kids that are of today and our time?
Yeah, I want to just take a step back, because the whole issue of who teaches, you don't need in New Jersey, you need a teaching certificate to actually teach a course.
Okay.
But you don't need a teaching certificate to really help educate kids.
True.
So Basim was my custodial worker when I was principal at University High School. And I pulled him aside one day and I said, I know that the comparison of what you are paid isn't comparable to the work that you actually do. Because he was not only making sure that the school was clean, he was making sure that the kids were clean of mind, of heart, of spirit. He was a teacher, yet he didn't have a teaching certificate. So everybody that's involved, the non-instructional staff, super critical towards assisting us in educating as well as changing hearts and minds. The reality from then to today is quite significant.
How drastic is it, though?
I think it's very drastic in that the realities of social media have really and not being able to take that by the reins has created a whole world of their own. They're so smarter than ever before. I don't think that we were stupid back then,
No.
but let me tell you, kids today, the ability to access technology and information kind of puts us to shame. And so our ability to understand that our experience is a big difference, that we should be able to guide them with everything, their energy, and with our experience. There's a general consensus that when it's aligned, we're going to be able to move things even aggressively faster. So it's doable, and we're demonstrating evidence of that. I think COVID forced the hand. Everybody had to get technologically savvy quickly.
True.
Where teachers and families converted living rooms, dining rooms, kitchens, hallways into classrooms, whether it was at their house or somebody else's house. If it wasn't at a house, it was in an apartment building.
How hard was that?
So the whole idea of moving fast, it's kind of sad that we needed a global pandemic to really motivate the two entities of the past and of the future by guiding our kids today.
Isn't it something how you just spoke of how a pandemic of that magnitude there's never been seen before, and there have been other atrocities that have occurred, but it pulled the old, the young, the educated, the uneducated, the poor, the rich, everyone together, and it stopped them at a halt to understand what is of essence.
Well, absolutely. Can you imagine that for perhaps the first time, at least I know in
my life,
in our history,
yes,
that whenever there's always somebody that you turn to, right? So it's somebody's spouse, somebody loved one, somebody's mother. Like for me, it's my mom, right? So whenever you go for that support during the time period of the pandemic, everyone was dealing with the same thing, so that your supports couldn't support you. Where you turn to somebody and we're like, oh my goodness, they have COVID, I can't talk to them. Or because they have COVID, I can't be close to them. So that people we know lost their lives. My dad wound up passing. My mom's first cousin wound up passing because of COVID. My dad because of the effects of it, not COVID itself. My cousin definitely because of COVID directly, and to not be able to be at families' bedsides during that time period. Becomes very, very difficult. I had a niece who was married during that time period.
Really?
A niece who had a child during that time period. And the whole reality of being able to celebrate like we know we would want wasn't something that we realized. So it became personal, and that everyone was suffering
sectioned off
at the same time. But it also shows our strength, especially in Newark. We wound up creating partnerships that either existed but were profoundly better than ever before. In particular, the mayor with the city and myself with the school system. The work that we were doing was just so top notch that different municipalities or school districts across the country were talking about and looking at what were the dynamics. And of course, he having been a principal in the district and us having worked together in that capacity kind of eliminated what may be inherent barriers towards understanding people as much as we understand each other. But ultimately, the whole idea that we were always and this is true, I think, of our school system more like than anything else, that whenever there is a crisis, everyone elevates to greatness. And so the challenge becomes when there isn't a crisis, Can we still elevate to that excellence? Why do we need to be in fear or worried about a particular event or the consequences of an event to inhibit us from being the best possible selves that we can be? So the challenge today is that now, as it's behind us and we see remnants of it that lingers, can we be better than ever before? And then understanding, at least in the school system, that we have to, because our students only get one chance at a grade every year, and everyone has to be at their best to make sure that that's an incredible experience for not only that child, but for everybody else's child as well.
Very true. Also, in retrospect to that there, it's funny how you spoke of how out of every challenge we grow to greater heights. Well, the support system is an essential. An essential from the aspect of politics, clergy, common man, and underprivileged man. I have found, and I wanted to ask you, what is the difference in an urban school system or school board and a suburban? Is there any difference really?
Well, the reality is that in both there are similarities, right? And so the issue becomes, when you compare the two, are you comparing apples to apples? And so we know that that is where, in fact, the realities lie. In our incredible city, the school system had never been funded the way that the governor actually funded it for this past school year, which was receiving the dollars almost at adequacy, unlike ever before. And so we know that it's not that money is the cure-all of any of it, but it does become a great equalizer when we're talking about the types of needs that our students have. So I compare Newark to the whole state in that we have communities within Newark that are middle class families, just like other middle class municipalities and school districts, but that within our communities there's varying needs. So everyone doesn't start at the same place. And so when you are in need of making sure that your child needs tutoring services, a parent might actually pay for that, right? Okay. And that doesn't mean that we don't have people in Newark that pay for tutoring as well. We actually do. A lot of people don't know that in Newark, for the school system, we pay the residents about $137 million in each of the last couple of years just on taxes alone. So, you know, news flash to people who think in Newark we don't pay taxes. We actually do. The idea, though, is that the dollar goes but so far, so that we would need to spend more money on wraparound services in an urban school district than perhaps in other school districts.
What is a wraparound service?
So the whole idea that schooling occurs, you know, Monday through Friday from 8:20 to 2:55. Those are the regular hours of our day. But knowing that some students require more assistance, that's not enough hours in the day. So wraparound services would be programming that we would offer students after school. Back in the day, we used to have, open gym late in the evening. For whatever reasons, that stopped over the last 2 decades.
Years, yeah.
But those are the things that we've reinstated. We have lights on at West Side. We have lights on at Barringer, and lights on at Belmont Runyon. So where we used to do this throughout the whole district, now we're at least doing it in 3 schools, with the idea that we will provide for the community opportunities for them to access our schools into the evening, so that we provide them an actual safe place to be. Our schools are our safe haven.